Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is
Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Yes, it is snow outside. I don't know. Wheeler might get mad if we call this a blizzard because I don't think we got enough wind. But it sucks outside. It just does. Look at that. Grand Forks, you got nothing. You're sitting there laughing at the rest of us here on a Wednesday morning. Welcome to our show. We're getting bailed out by our old friends. Ryan and Ben are helping us out, who directed our show for the better part of a year. We had to drag them out of First News to come help because Bunnell is stuck. Strecker is stuck. All of our normal guys are stuck. Hell, I almost got stuck in South Moorhead a couple of times. And we're here. And I was just reading the email from Lydia Bloom this morning that a heavy band of snow sat right over Fargo from about 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. Yeah, because Smarty McGee over here went outside and snowblowed at about 5:45 this morning thinking, I'm all right, well, it'll... And then I went back out at 7 o'clock, and it's like I didn't do anything. That's about the ultimate kick in the you-know-what that there is. So if you do not need to go anywhere, don't. You can anyway, because most every road coming in out of Fargo is closed, including both highways right now, 94 and 29, which is a bugaboo, obviously, for everybody. Everything is virtual learning today. When Fargo went, because Fargo Public Schools normally is the last. When they went early yesterday, you had to figure that maybe something was coming. Maybe they knew something. And, of course, lo and behold, then everybody else followed suit. And here we are on the first day of March and just shaking our heads and wondering whenever this is going to end. At least everybody can be at home today to watch the Twins play their first spring training game when it's going to be 85 and sunny down in Fort Myers later today. So I guess the one good thing of this, it's happening on a Wednesday, which was not a heavy, as we all know, sports day, although it is for those trying to get to the Girls State B in Minot. I know we had Jay Bachman on yesterday from Central Cass. They ended up leaving last night to get to Devil's Lake, is that's where they were going to stay, and then finish the rest of the trip this morning. It won't be an issue for Thompson, as you saw the weather in Grand Forks, that they'll be okay to get there. Not sure about Edgeley, Cullum, Montpelier. That part of the state got hammered. And out west, which we'll get an update on that. Actually, I'll send a text message here in a moment to the tournament director out in Minot to see where we're at with getting everybody there. I know for our crew, they are waiting for the roads to open and for them to get there. Our truck is there. We just need to get our people there to broadcast for tomorrow's State B. There is one casualty of the calendar. That's the 8AA section championship in hockey, supposed to be played tonight in Thief River Falls between Moorhead and Roseau. Obviously, with Moorhead not having school today, as far as I understand it, if they don't have school, they can't play the game in person. So I'm waiting for an announcement on when that will be rescheduled. I would assume tomorrow, but we'll wait and see. And I was reminded of this morning that I remember. I think it was my first winter here in 2007 when Moorhead and Roseau tried to play, I think, 3 times over for the section championship, and the weather kept getting in the way. They ended up playing on a Saturday, if I remember correctly, and Roseau ended up winning that year en route to winning the whole thing. We'll wait and see any announcement on that, but that is the one big sports scheduling casualty of the day with what happened here today. It is apparently going to die down here as we're on the air. Hopefully so. Our shots outside will indicate that and allow everybody to clean up. But we're looking at a foot of snow here, just here in town. So March 1 coming in and punching us right in the face. I don't care about coming in with a lion. That's like a Clubber Lang uppercut here to start March here in the Metro. We got a lot to get to today, including some late-night Wolves highlights. Nothing wrong with that. Let's start, though, in Sioux Falls. The MSUM men's basketball team playing last night for the Northern Sun Tournament Championship against Minnesota Duluth. We previewed it yesterday on the show. Dragons and Bulldogs had split during the regular season. Round 3 last night in Sioux Falls played out like this as the Dragons came out a house of fire again last night. Lorenzo McGee, who was sensational all 3 days for the Dragons, draws the contact and the foul. Can argue that maybe he initiated the contact. Dragons up 10. The big man, Dane Zimmer, with a 3. He had 2 threes all season until last night when he knocked down 2 for 2. That put the Dragons up by 15. They're up 18 late in the first half. Moorhead kid Drew Hagan knocks down a 3. Got whistled for a technical foul here because he was talking smack, which you can't do that. That might have been the one misstep. End of the first half here. Johnny Beninga drives and scores, puts the Dragons up 19. Duluth gets a basket, but allows too much time on the clock, and Beninga drives down the floor and scores again. Put the Dragons up 47-28 at halftime. Duluth got back in this a bit. Beninga hits another deep 3 here. Gets the lead back to 15. They had cut it to 8 with a minute and a half to go, but you can't leave Zimmer that wide open. That was the dagger, and the Dragons win the tournament championship for a second straight year. 79-69 is the final. Tim Bergstraser, in his first year as head coach, leads MSUM to an NSIC tournament championship. The Dragons win their 25th game of the season at 25-6. Had a dynamite year. They started to tail off a little bit at the end, but boy, they hung tough. And they were shorthanded last night without one of their studs, and Jaden Stanley Williams, who was out with an injury. McGee goes for 20. Beninga 17. Gavin Baumgartner had 17. Beninga was named tournament MVP. Heck of a performance last night at the Pentagon in Sioux Falls. This was a pretty emotional moment there between McGee and Bergstraser after the game last night. And the Dragons have the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. They will find out their fate. Here's the rub on this one, folks. Talk about not caring about like FCS football. The selection show for Division II men's basketball is at 10 o'clock Sunday night. 10 Central Time. So that's 11 Eastern. There are still teams that play in the Eastern time zone, last I checked. For some godforsaken reason, they have to have it at 10 o'clock Central Time on Sunday night. That's when the Dragons will find out who they are playing next weekend to open up the NCAA Division II tournament. But congrats to them. What an impressive run. And he inherited, obviously, a stacked roster, did Bergstraser, taking over Chad Walthall, but you still got to coach the guys. Lorenzo McGee and Beninga didn't come off the floor last night. They played all 40 minutes. You could tell they were exhausted when that game wrapped up. I think McGee just collapsed on the floor after everything was done just from exhaustion. So congratulations to them. Bergstraser is going to join us here coming up at about 9:35. I assume they're stuck in Sioux Falls. Nobody's going anywhere this morning to recap what an emotional game that was last night. Speaking of emotion, nothing like late-night Minnesota Timberwolves basketball to stir that. The Wolves in Los Angeles to play the Clippers. They had lost 3 straight, including their mind-numbing game to Charlotte. They got beat by the Warriors on Sunday. And last night, national television against the Clippers. And it got off to a dreadful start. Paul George puts the Clippers up 9. Remember, this team has Kawhi Leonard as well, who I don't know how you let him get open. They're up 8. But the Wolves then turned it on. And Rudy Gobert, when he can play, is pretty darn good. He got open there, was dominating down low. Wolves are up 5. That's a heck of a move from Ant there. Edwards was engaged last night after a dreadful game on Sunday against the Warriors. How about that little dipsy-do through the lane? That put Minnesota up 9. The Clippers had cut it to 4. Nifty dish there from slow-mo Kyle Anderson to Gobert for the dunk. And the Wolves win on the road last night, 108-101 the final. They get back to 500 in the Western Conference standings, which are as tight as ever, as every day the things are going to fluctuate. And especially now with the Lakers with an injury to LeBron, you thought they were going to start taking off, but who knows what's going to happen there. The Wolves sit 8th in the Western Conference here, a half game back of Dallas, a half game ahead of Utah, and a game ahead of New Orleans, who has the final spot for the play-in. So as it would stand now, the Wolves would play at Dallas in the play-in, and if they were to lose that, they would play the winner of the Jazz and the Pelicans at Target Center. Again, though, they are, right now, the Wolves are 2 games out of 4th in the Western Conference. That's how jumbled the standings are. That's a good win. And a game you had to have after you had lost 3 straight, including they lost to Washington, you lost to Charlotte. They play the Lakers coming up on Friday night without LeBron. And then I think they get the Kings on Saturday. So a couple of big games coming still here for the Wolves on this road trip. Lastly, before we wrap up our opening segment, it was a busy sports night. You had a chance to flip around the dial. You wish they spread it out here, especially now with the snow. The Wolves won. The Wild were playing at home. They have to get out of Dodge because the Minnesota State Wrestling Tournament takes over the XL Energy Center starting tomorrow. Hosting Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders last night at XL Energy Center after they had beaten Columbus with a Kirill Kaprizov hat trick on Sunday. They trail 1-0 when Ryan Reeves, who already got into a fight earlier in the game, scores here on a nifty goal. That stick is not above the crossbar. That's why it counts. Ties the game up at 1. Philip Gustafsson. Who would have thought he would have saved the Wild season? Not I. I don't think many did here with a tremendous pad save there on Bo Horvat, who was trying to stuff it home. Keeps it a 1-1 game. Now we're in overtime. Chance here, and again, another pad save from Gustafsson. He had 39 saves last night, including on the one-timer down low from our guy Zach Parise, who had a chance to win the game for the Islanders. So we go to a shootout. Nobody has scored yet. This is the 3rd round. There's only 3. Freddie Gaudreau gets Minnesota on the board with a tremendous little deke and scores. So the Wild are up. So if Gustafsson makes a save here, the Wild will win the game. And he comes up with a tremendous save, and the Wild beat the Islanders 2-1. The final score. Minnesota is red hot here. Won 5 of 6. And again, I won't try to explain to everybody the impossible NHL playoff standings, but the Wild now are just a game out of first place in the Central Division. Dallas has 75 points. And Minnesota has 74. The Avalanche have 73. But then last place, the last playoff spot, Winnipeg has 72. So you got to keep winning. You have to keep winning games. And now they head west as well, just like the Wolves. The Wild are heading to the West Coast. Have a matchup with the Canucks tomorrow night. Then they have the Flames after that. So tough stretch here, but 2 big wins for our local teams last night for the Wild and the Wolves, just to make this last stretch of the season even more unbearable for fans who are hanging on with every game. They got a win last night. We are packed here on this Wednesday. Hopefully we got a big audience. If everybody's stuck at home, this is what we do every day. Coming up in just a few minutes, Drew Trafton will be by in his usual Wednesday time slot. We got lots to chat about with Drew, including as the NFL Combine is underway, both coaches and general managers speaking to the media. Pete Carroll spoke yesterday. Thought some interesting stuff there for Drew Seahawks. We'll do that at 9:20. At 9:35, we mentioned Tim Bergstraser will join us, MSUM men's basketball head coach, after the championship won by the Dragons. They'll find out on Sunday night who they're facing off in the Central Regional. The rankings, when they came out last week, the Dragons were 5. Likely they're going to have to move up at least to the 2 or the 3 spot there. We'll visit with Tim coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, David Richman will join us, North Dakota State men's basketball coach, in his usual Wednesday time slot. The Bison getting set to head to Sioux Falls coming up on, probably I'll go down Friday maybe, or Saturday. They play Sunday night. They play the late game Sunday against the University of South Dakota. Get Dave's thoughts on matching up with the Coyotes for a third time this season after splitting during the regular season. And at 10:35, Lynette Johnson will join us, former Miss Basketball, NDSU standout. Of course, she's done all the broadcasting with us, heck, since 2014. So Lynette's 10th year of calling the girls State B as they get set for what should be a great tournament beginning tomorrow out in Minot. We'll get the breakdown from Lynette on who the favorites are, who's got a chance to be playing on Sunday night. That's coming up before we say goodbye here on this Wednesday. So that and a heck of a lot more. So be careful out there. If you've got to go anywhere, just slow the you-know-what down. Let the plows do what they got to do and get the snow blowers ready to roll. I'm going to have to do that again later today. We'll take a break. Hot Mic is off and rolling. We're back after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
All right, Wednesday morning, you made it here.
You made it here. I think it's you and me and like 2 other people who were here already.
Ben and Ryan are here.
Yeah.
I don't know who else. You got your first news team is probably marooned.
They're here.
Right?
Yeah, they're not going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
We've had that discussion upstairs. We've got crews out trying to get people here, and it's a morning. That's for sure.
Not great.
Yeah,
especially when Lydia says we get nearly a foot of snow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Wait until the 11 a.m. newscast.
Yeah.
We just got this video in from somebody on the 3rd floor.
Yeah, I saw this.
Did you
I did see that.
There's a 3rd floor apartment in Fargo, and the drift on their patio on the 3rd floor is like
scary.
It's like 4 feet high. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's March 1st, man. We're done. We're just done.
I'm over it.
It's just over.
No shame in that.
I was ready to be done snow blowing on February 1st, let alone March 1st. Just over and done with. We got some actual serious news here to chat about with the Combine underway. This story just broke within the last
minutes ago,
like 10 minutes. Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting that Jalen Carter, who's probably considered the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, Georgia defensive lineman, was present at the scene of a teammate's fatal crash on January the 15th, drove away, and misled police about it afterward. The Constitution reports that Carter first told the police he was nearly a mile away when the fatal crash happened, then said he was behind the other vehicle and see its taillights, and then said he was alongside the car when it crashed. Georgia football staffer Chandler LaCroix was driving the car that crashed. Georgia offensive lineman Devin Wilcock also was a passenger. Both died. Another football staffer, another football player were injured. Police questioned Carter about whether he was racing the other car. Carter denied it. The official story until now have been that it was a single-car accident caused by LaCroix driving too fast. It is not clear whether Carter could be in legal jeopardy based on the new information that his car was also at the scene. He's scheduled to actually speak here in the Combine in about 10 minutes. To the media. I would be stunned if that still happens.
Right, and I've seen reports out there that an arrest warrant has been issued in Athens, Georgia as well, which would obviously at that point he's wanted. Yeah, and so that changes the dynamic considerably. It goes from a story about football to a criminal matter, and that takes him off the board.
Secured arrest warrants for Jalen Carter for reckless driving and racing. Wow. Yeah. Holy cow.
Yeah. So of course that is by itself the top concern story, like, hands down. But from an NFL draft perspective, changes the math considerably. It takes. I'm thinking of the Chicago Bears, where they were probably shopping that pick anyway to move back, potentially to draft Carter or maybe Will Anderson Jr. And what's that value? What do they get more for that now? Do they get less for that pick? That kind of changes the value, I think, of those other picks if teams are moving in to bump back. I saw the Cardinals were considering trying to move from 3 back to maybe land one of those other guys. And
that goes so beyond anything football-wise
it really
here.
does.
People have lost their lives here on this. And that, goes also the story last week surrounding Brandon Miller, the stud from Alabama, who apparently he provided the gun that a young woman was killed there. I mean, this is beyond playing stuff here. It's just
and you always
heavy,
hear
heavy stuff.
those conversations about character when it comes to that factoring in a big way. And
it's a value above most.
You see people drop down draft boards in a major way. Laramie Tunsil,
remember that?
out.
I was at the draft that year when that happened.
Right, but that's those character questions are completely different than criminal questions. And that
absolutely
takes somebody like a Jalen Carter off the board completely for teams.
So you draft nerds out there, something to keep an eye on here, no doubt, with that news that just broke, as Drew was telling me about when he came into the studio. There's no easy segue here because Pete Carroll spoke yesterday at the Combine.
Sure did.
So between the last time you and I were here, the story came out that apparently from The Athletic that Russell Wilson wanted to or tried to get both Pete Carroll and John Schneider fired. As it turned out, Russ was the guy that left and not those two. When you heard that, what was your reaction?
I believed it.
Yeah, I did too.
Because The Athletic,
that story was well sourced.
Yeah. And there's been smoke there for years. Like the season before that, Russell Wilson, who has a no trade clause in his contract, didn't ask for a trade, but he said, hey, I'm not asking for a trade, but if you were to facilitate a trade, here are the 4 teams I'd go to. And his agent leaked that. Yep. And it's like, well, why would you do that? They had moved mountains to try to get. There was one year where Russ was complaining about the offensive line. They bring in Gabe Jackson from the Raiders. He said we don't have any stars on defense. They go superstars. They go and trade for Jamal Adams. They had done quite a bit to try to satiate Russell Wilson, and obviously they had been at loggerheads on how the offense was supposed to run and the best way to run the offense. So I believed it wholeheartedly. I thought his response to that story was interesting because everybody had said, he waited about an hour. Once that news came out, I was like, okay, he's on the clock here. And he said, I never wanted John or Pete fired, the general manager, John Schneider. And then I thought it was odd because I saw a lot of media outlets go, well, Russell Wilson's denying that he did that. Yep. To me, saying I didn't want them to be fired.
It's not denying it.
It's a non-denial because he didn't say I didn't ask for them to be fired. And I could see where that conversation goes with Jody Allen, the trust owner at this point, who said, if Russ went into that meeting and said, look, I think we would be better off with Sean Payton or somebody else. If he offered a name, or I think I need us to go in a different direction for me to want to stay with the team. That's not directly asking it, with those words, but it's implying it certainly. And Pete Carroll's reaction yesterday that spoke to that.
So let's play that, guys. This is Pete Carroll yesterday when asked about what his relationship is with Russell Wilson. This was yesterday at the Combine.
My response to that is a similar response that it's always been with the guys that I've coached, that I'm always going to hang with them, and I'm never going to leave them, and I'm going to be there at the end of all of the good stuff and all of the bad stuff. I'm going to still be there. And so that's it. I'm hanging. And it doesn't matter who the guy is. If you look at all of the guys that have come to our program, just not go back to the college days, but just here at Seattle, regardless of what has happened or has taken place or the things that have been said at all, if you hang with them, it all comes back around. And I like to demonstrate that faith in the relationship and the depth of what we did together, and hang through whatever the growth challenges bring to us along the way.
Okay. That was like word salad. I don't know what he said there. Yeah. I don't know what he said. He wants to hang with. I don't know. What does that mean? Right.
Yeah. And I think that was almost his way of saying kids will be kids. Yeah. And it's like, Russell thinks he's here, and that was evident. And we let him go and try it. And he really doesn't have to say much, right? I mean, like the season bore out the way it bore out.
Played it did.
Right now, it certainly looks like he might have been onto something there, and that's not to say that Russ won't go and have a great, second part of his or the tail end of his career with Sean Payton now. Yeah. But yeah, that was really interesting stuff. And one other thing that I noticed early on this season that makes me believe that as well was those two didn't speak prior to the Broncos Seahawks game week 1. They didn't speak before the game. They only had that very public, meeting midfield after, and that was it.
And that's just, you talked about it though, when we talked about it on this show when it went down, that I think, and I asked you said most Seahawks fans will side with Pete on this. Yeah. And that
Russ
clearly
just has never been the, as much as I think Seahawks fans appreciate what he did and how he did it and his skill level and what he could accomplish on the field and what he brought to the games, he's never been an endearing athlete. Right. Like he's like the regions never really like clung on to him as like our guy, like some other Seahawks, like Bobby Wagner, for instance, who's, an
all-timer. Richard Sherman's an all-timer, right?
Marshawn Lynch sticks in my mind, like is like somebody that the region just loves, and nobody really loved Russell.
Let me ask you this, because I want to play one more soundbite before we go. Is he a Hall of Famer? Like, is he going to get his number retired in Seattle? That kind of distinction.
Well, I think that's how it kind of depends on how he wants it to go at this point. I think the Seahawks would be open to that. Their Ring of Honor is only open to people who've played their entire careers.
Is that right?
In a Seahawks uniform.
No kidding. That's tough. Man.
Yeah. So
who's in there? Like Largent? Cortez Kennedy?
Yeah, Cortez, Walter Jones.
Okay.
I think they've made exception. I think they've made.
You got to make one for Marshawn. Yeah, he's got to be there.
Hasselbeck, maybe. Sean Alexander's in there.
Okay.
So if you,
Sherman, Bobby Wagner, and Marshawn
Jim
have got
in there.
Dave Craig, is he in there?
I don't know. I'd have to look up Dave Craig.
All right. Yeah. All right. Now, this is what Pete had to say, because again, the Seahawks have 2 first-round picks,
including number 5.
Right. This is what he had to say about their draft ideas. Which again, just listen to this. Let's see what he said yesterday.
This is really an exciting op for us. We have not been in a situation, we have not felt like this ever. And so all of the build-up to it has been exciting, and we're hoping to, obviously max out everything we can with it. It's another competitive op for us, and John and I have spent a ton of time already just kind of positioning, posturing, where our heads are at and all that stuff. And even with it's at such an early stage of gathering information, this is still really exciting. We know that the opportunity is going to be something special, so we're looking forward to it. And
by the way, Dave Craig is in the Seahawks Ring of Honor.
Good, yeah. Well,
Sean Alexander, Paul Allen, Dave Brown. That was before our time in the mid-'70s. He played Kenny Easley, Jacob Green, Pete Gross, radio announcer, Hasselbeck, Holmgren, Walter Jones, Cortez Kennedy, Chuck Knox, Dave Craig, Steve Largent, Kurt Warner. I forgot he was in
Kurt
there.
Warner,
and Zorn. That's the Seahawks Ring of Honor.
Hard,
if Dave Craig is in, then
Well, in this of that Super Bowl era, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, all those, Malcolm Smith, like they're all going to get in.
Okay, so back to what he said there. Now, Mel Kiper's latest mock, I don't know if you saw this, has the Seahawks trading with the Panthers.
That makes sense.
The Panthers moving up to take a quarterback at 5. He has the Panthers taking Will Levis, but he also has the Seahawks taking Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida.
Later in the round.
With a 9th overall pick.
Well, John Schneider and Pete Carroll spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the quarterback evaluation that they're undergoing, which to me, they were saying they were asked, are you looking at a quarterback at 5? And they said, of course. Of course we are. You don't draft, quarterbacks don't grow on trees, was what they said. But to me, if you're engaging Geno Smith like they are, and they said that they're looking at a bigger deal, and that's why it's taking a longer time, you're not going to draft a quarterback with that first pick. But you might draft a project. And Anthony Richardson
is that. Yep.
He's Cam Newton probably.
You do that at 9 though with a project?
No, I don't think they would do that. I think they're going to look at who's left. I think they'd be happy with Hendon Hooker in the 2nd round maybe, or later if he's still there. But yeah, I mean, I think all that they said yesterday was basically, if you want a quarterback,
come talk to us. Yeah,
we're your trade partners. We'll dance with you.
He's got Kuiper has the Seahawks at 20, taking Miles Murphy, defensive end from Clemson,
which would be great.
That spot.
Like I think there's some good value there too.
And they've knocked it out of the park with those drafts. Last year's draft,
right.
They really did.
And of any position group in this draft, they haven't done like a super huge deep dive. To me, the defensive end class is pretty good.
Yep.
So there's some value there late.
By the way, for people that forget, Drew actually did our mock draft. He picked the Seahawks guy who they actually end up picking that night. So he knows what he's talking about on this stuff.
It was the first time I'd ever actually gotten a mock right, in all fairness. But
take that one to the bank,
I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Seahawks draft expert.
So now you've got to go 2 for 2.
I'm going to change my business card right now.
We only got 6 weeks left before the draft here. Maybe by then the snow will be gone. We can actually get out of here by then.
Yeah, from this storm. We'll have dug out.
Thanks for coming by, man. I appreciate it. You're stuck here anyway, so I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, I can come by later if you want to.
Keep your phone handy. Drew Trafton joining us each and every Wednesday. We're due for a break. We come back. Tim Bergstraser will join us. The champions from MSUM. They won the Northern Sun Tournament last night for a second year in a row. He'll join us when we return on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, here on Hot Mic on this Wednesday morning, snowy Wednesday. You saw that shot from Wahpeton, which they're getting hammered much like we are. Just looking outside, it's still coming down here on this Wednesday. And I think for our next guest, he's okay if he's got to not go anywhere for a little bit, because after an exhausting last few days, it's okay to take a little bit of a break. Of course, we're talking about the MSU Moorhead men's basketball team, which won the Northern Sun Conference Tournament Championship last night, beating Minnesota Duluth 79-69 to win a second straight NSIC championship. Tim Bergstraser's back with us here. I'm just locked in Sioux Falls on this Wednesday. I don't know if you got any sleep, bud, but congratulations. Tell me, just it's still got to feel so fresh, but what the emotions were like last night. We had the shot. You hugging Lorenzo McGee. Tell me about that moment last night.
Yeah, that was there's a lot of emotions. And I mean, fortunately for me as a coach, the type of guys we have in the locker room, they compete so dang hard, and we know how bad they want it. And just like we alluded to the other day about Lorenzo and how much he competes and how much he cares about this opportunity to play, I just think he just kind of let it all out. Because I mean, he played 40 minutes, and everybody that saw the game, he was absolutely exhausted. And he kept telling us that, but I said, hey man, it's for a championship, just keep fighting for us. And as soon as he saw me, I didn't see, you guys saw the video, he just headbutted me. And I mean, yeah, it was an emotional moment, but it's a special thing for a coach, and even for him, because I mean, we've had each other's backs ever since we've known each other. And I just think we relate in so many ways, just of, showing up to compete and just appreciating the opportunity. So, it's always a good feeling when you work so dang hard and you get something like that.
Tell me about, I guess, the mindset going in. You were going to be shorthanded last night with Jaden Stanley-Williams not being able to play. What was addressing the team before the game last night, knowing you were going to maybe have to play a couple guys, because obviously Jacob went the whole way, that you were going to be a shorthanded group last night?
Yeah. So in the morning, I mean, we found out in the morning that Jaden wasn't going to go. And I mean, we just made the next best thing for our team, and we went right to it, didn't bat an eye. Said, all right, Logan Kinsey, you're starting. And we know that we felt defensively he would bring us that and some rebounding. And, we told the guy, like, hey, Drew Hagan, you got to be ready to go. And, even Eddie Beninga is like, you never know, man, but you got to be ready to rock. And I told him, too, is like, they haven't played a lot this season. Everybody knows that. But, like, I still had so much trust in them going in there, because they do show it a lot in practice for us. And obviously a lot of other people don't see that. But as well, like, I took – the guys that play majority of our minutes, like Jacob, Gavin, Zoe, Dane, even like Trevor. And I just say, hey, you got to be ready to play, 38 to 40 minutes this game. It's like we'll have some pretty good rest here after this game. So it's just like sell it all out and just lay it all out there, and we'll see where it goes.
When Dane Zimmer hits 2 threes, are you thinking, all right, it's going to be our night?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, he drills them all the time in practice. It's just. And we're going to keep – I mean, if he could hit those threes for our team, it just opens up a lot for our offense, because a lot of people do sag on him. But, yeah, I mean, that first half, it felt like every shot was going in. And that's that's just how the game goes sometimes. And I mean, I know if I was Wick, I'd be like, all right, what the heck is going on right now? Because it just felt like, and I'll give credit to our guys. They were just ready to play. They were ready to compete. They were ready to make winning plays. So that's just what you have to do in that type of atmosphere.
When you have a first half like that, I have to imagine okay, Duluth's going to make a run. They're going to counterpunch there. How do you address that knowing in halftime, hey, we're up 19. We couldn't have played a better first half.
Yeah. Well, we just had to keep defending, and we did tell our guys, like, we don't want to be negative. It's like, hey, some of the shots we were hitting, I mean, they were pretty tough. I don't think that's going to continue for the whole 40. They're going to start increasing the intensity defensively. And all I cared about is just making sure we were playing a clean game, not getting loose to the ball and defending and rebound. And we didn't rebound that great in the second half. Just the tournament overall, we were fortunate to be up a lot, but we didn't respond that great, in my opinion. But you know how it is in tournament time. You're not going to bomb a team by 20-some points. I mean, they're going to come back hot and they're going to try to beat you and make a run. So it was just a really good experience for our guys just to learn it. And, our winning time experiences, we need to improve that a little more. But, I mean, we knew they were coming. And they got a lot of guys that could get loose and score. So we just had to keep trying to do more of the same for what we did in the first half.
The feeling last year as an assistant going up to take a piece of the net and compare that when you get the whole thing last night. Can you describe how different that felt from last year to last night?
Yeah, well, last year is a big deal because now I've been fortunate to have that experience before. And I've just learned as I get older here, just like really to soak it in like we've discussed yesterday. Because like when you go up to that ladder, it's like you really just got to take a breath. Like, all right, this is pretty cool. Let's enjoy this. And last year especially, like I wanted that so bad for Walthall because I know how many times that he's been there. So for him, and especially him, getting that and then moving on just to his next thing in his life, that was special to me as an assistant because I just wanted him to get it so bad, and our players did too. But then even for me this year, I mean, it was the same process. I just went up there, took a deep breath, looked up at the sky and said, thank you. And you just really take a look at all the guys around you and that's the type of thing you need to embrace. And I told all of our guys as soon as we handed them the trophy, I grabbed a lot of them by the shoulders and I was like, hey, like, take a look around, see your family, like really just enjoy this opportunity because it does not come around a lot.
Where's the net now? Do you have it? Do you have it in your room? Where's it at?
I slept with it on my neck last night, but it's I had to shower this morning. I can't come in. I can't smell. But we got great. 2 of them. One's in my room, and I don't know where the other one's at. Hopefully they didn't lose it.
See, I was fully counting on you still having it around your neck this morning for us, man. That'd have been
thought about it. I thought about bringing it on. I was like, no, we're just gonna. We enjoyed it, but we're going to keep enjoying it, but we got to move on to the next thing now.
Did your wife appreciate the fact you slept with it around your neck last night?
Yeah. Well, I stayed up pretty late. I couldn't sleep, obviously, and I woke up pretty dang early.
Man, that's fantastic. So I mentioned earlier the selection show is Sunday night at 10 o'clock. What is the process now? Obviously, you got to get back here to Moorhead sometime today. Hopefully, what's the schedule now lay out for you guys between now and Selection Sunday?
Yeah, we're gonna, like you said, hopefully we could get home by a decent time late tonight. But then at that point, we're gonna take some much needed rest. We're banged up, and our guys put a lot of minutes in 3 days, so rest is essential for the Dragons at this point. We're not going to do anything today. Obviously, we honestly might not do much until Saturday.
Yeah.
But fortunately for the guys that we have in the program, and we already talked, a little bit with these guys, like they're going to be in the gym already. We've recruited a group of guys that are self-starters and they know what it takes to, make sure we're continuing what we're doing. So they're going to be in the gym. But at the same time, I told us like, we need to make sure we're seeing the trainers. We're, getting our boo-boos figured out. And because we're beat up right now, but who isn't at this time of the year? So maybe, we might do some shooting come Friday, maybe a little shooting on Saturday, light practice, maybe some lifting, and then come Sunday, we'll have I know that our administration will probably set up a pretty cool selection show, maybe at Buffalo Wild Wings. And unfortunately, it's too late, but it is what it is. And like I was saying before, as long as we see our name up there, that's a big deal and something to appreciate.
I got an airing of grievances of why it's at 10 o'clock at night. If you want to have some interest in your basketball tournament, not putting it at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday would probably be a good start. I know you probably didn't care about this till now. Last week, the last rankings that came out, the Dragons were 5. After what happened yesterday. You expect you're up to a 2 or a 3 by winning the conference tournament?
I don't know. With all the regional rankings work ever since I've been a player and a coach, it's always such a toss up, and I could see us maybe bumping up. And like you said, I'm not overly concerned about it. Just the one thing I'm hoping is that we don't play a NSIC opponent in the first week. And even if there is like maybe a couple points, like if they could just do a simple flip. But that's my opinion. I think a lot of people would agree to that too, because it's nice to play other teams that you haven't played maybe 3 times in a season.
To have these guys at least for one more game, describe that like, all right, we know we got at least one more game that I get to coach this team.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And like I said, I'm just trying to take every moment I can with these guys because like it's such a high quality group. Like they're just so fun to be around. They have such a good balance of just competing so hard and they're just living a good life outside of basketball. And, I've been fortunate just to hang around with them outside of the court. So I really want to just keep taking that in. And again, like I said, just like for how hard these guys compete, we got to keep showing up and we'll see where it leads. I mean, we just want to keep showing up every single day. And I know we don't want to end the season by any means, but I mean, at this point of the year, everybody wants to extend their season. So we're just going to keep trying to focus on us. There's many things we still got to improve on. We'll watch some film. We're just going to stick to what we've been doing of finding ways to grow because it needs to happen at this point still.
Well, that was a lot of fun, man. I'll tell you, you had a bunch of people I know who maybe couldn't have made it down to Sioux Falls that were watching last night. I hope you enjoy this and have a great bus trip home whenever you can get back here. Congratulations, and we'll visit again next week before you guys head out, okay?
Sounds good, my man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Tim. Tim Bergstraser, MSUM first-year head coach of the Dragons. They win the Northern Sun Conference Tournament Championship last night by 10 over Duluth. And as I mentioned, the selection show, 10 o'clock on Sunday night, we will find out where and who the Dragons are playing. Likely they're heading to Northwest Missouri State. They're the number 1 overall seed, and if that's the case, you get to host the regional. Likely that the Dragons are heading there, depending then, as Tim said, Northern State's going, Saul's team's going to be there, and Duluth's going to be there. And this is an issue I complain all the way about FCS football, but it happens more often than not in basketball where you make the tournament, but as Tim said, they very well could get a Northern Sun team in that opening round. We'll see when the rankings come out and the bracket is unveiled on Sunday. We're due for a break. We'll take one now, wrap up hour 1. It's still freaking snowing outside. Dylan tells me we're over a foot of snow now here in Fargo, just basically over the last 12 hours. Kind of crazy there. We'll wrap up hour 1 of Hot Mic. We'll do it right after this here on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. That looks kind of benign there in Detroit Lakes. But it is not nice out. I mean, there's downtown Fargo right now. It's still coming down. Get the heck out of here so we can start cleaning up stuff. There's people driving, but they're not going too fast there. One guy's probably going way too fast. Welcome back, everybody, as we wrap up hour 1. Dave Richman coming up here in just a few minutes. NDSU men's basketball head coach as the Bison men will get set for South Dakota and the Summit League tournament with the league game on Sunday night. Just going back quickly to what Drew and I were talking about on the Jalen Carter story. Again, he's now been charged by the Athens Clark County Police for street racing and reckless driving in connection with the fatal January 15th crash, as the department said in a release. And you look any draft models right now, any mocks, and if he's not the number 1 pick, he's either the 2, the 3, or the 4. I mean, we're talking here a highly anticipated football prospect here coming out of college, and this certainly clouds everything on that. So it's a huge story. Again, he was supposed to address the media at the Combine this morning. I doubt that's happening. With a high degree of certainty on that, and you'll see where things go from there. I know another email in that missed the start of the show, Dom, about the Spud hockey game tonight. We're under the impression, obviously, with Moorhead being virtual learning today, that game is not happening tonight with Roseau. We're still waiting for confirmation on when the game will be played. I don't know if it's as simple as moving it to tomorrow night. They're supposed to play that game in Thief River Falls between them and Roseau to go to the state tournament. But that is, as I mentioned off the top, the really only game casualty locally, with it being a Wednesday. It is roughly an easier day to not have stuff happening, but it is tough for those trying to get where they need to go with state tournament starting tomorrow in Minot for both girls hockey and the girls Class B. We're waiting a couple updates on that. We'll pass it along as we can. We'll break now. We come back. We'll start hour 2. Dave Richman will join us. Bison men's basketball head coach as North Dakota State gets set to head to Sioux Falls this weekend. Hour 2 of Hot Mike begins on a snowy Wednesday right after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody, to Hot Mike here on a snowy Wednesday morning. According to our meteorologists here, we've already got 1.5 feet of snow, which I remember going outside at about 8 o'clock last night. It hadn't even started, so it's only 10 o'clock now. So in the span of 14 hours, we've got that. I'm not a great math mind, but that's nearly about an inch an hour here, which is enough. It's March 1st. It's our favorite month of the year here. It's time to turn the corner. I'm just yelling at the clouds apparently right now. So we'll see. It is March 1st, which means for those of us that love college basketball, it really comes into focus now. There are already tournaments beginning. The Summit League basketball tournament begins on Friday. The new expanded format where all 10 teams are invited down to Sioux Falls. The North Dakota State men are the 3 seed, and they'll face off against 6-seeded South Dakota Sunday night at 8:30 as Bison men's head coach David Richman joins us. You made it to the shack today. What did you need sled dogs, or how did you get there from your palatial estate?
I think the real MVP so far this morning, Dom, is your wife. I mean,
Yes.
She gets up, she gets up, she blows your driveway for you, plows a path so you can get to work because we know you're a little soft and you don't get that beautiful those fingers dirty or anything like that. So
True.
I mean, here you go.
It's good to see you, by the way.
So we got 18 inches, is that right?
No, it's 12 and a half right now. But just 12 and a half. No, 12 and a half over 14 hours.
Gotcha.
No, 12.5. My bad. Sorry, 12.5 we got so far.
Yeah, no, we yeah, I don't know. I just like I wish not I wish, but like it's like from the basketball guys, like Mother Nature's undefeated. How do you become like Mother Nature on the basketball court?
I got to ask you off the top of the show because I think a lot of people watched the game on Saturday. They heard you after the game, and I got a couple emails. Frankly, they're wondering why was Dave mad? The Bison won the game, so it's been a couple days. I haven't talked to you since, so I'm just curious. Like, I know how passionate you are and you want to play well, but tell me what was going through your mind, and do you have any regrets about how you came off after the game on Saturday?
This isn't going to make sense to a lot of people, and that's fine. I'm well beyond that and doing this for 9 years, but we are a process-driven program, and it is process over results. If we win the next Monday, it's about getting better. If we lose, the next Monday is about getting better. And I was extremely disappointed in the last 20 minutes of basketball that we miss an opportunity to get better. Was I frustrated? Was I, angry with some things? Did I maybe at some point, I don't care. Again, no offense to you or anybody that listened to the press conference. I'm not caring about any of that. I go back into the locker room and maybe done 1 or 2 things different, possibly. I felt like we had some opportunities Monday and then yesterday to clean some of those things up, but the guys at the end of the day were maybe a little confused, but at the same sense, they know who Coach Richman is. Yeah. And I'm about getting better. And it's, it's certainly like I have to win some games, but it's it's just crazy. Matt Ince and I have talked a lot about this. This is process driven, right? when you start speaking about winning all the time, then that's all you're talking about is winning. You're not talking about all the guts, the details that it takes to win. And I know that might sound crazy. I know that might not make sense, but I'll say this, and I'll say this pounding my fist on the table. Matt Inch, our program, we've had a lot of damn success attacking the process every day. And for 20 minutes, we miss an opportunity on Saturday afternoon to get better. There's some things that the Bison Nation doesn't understand that I've asked our guys to do at different situations, carry those things over it. We didn't do that, right? That leads to, frustration. That leads to disappointment. And I love these guys. Like, I love my 4 daughters, but I'm going to parent our kids, and I'm going to coach my kids, my daughters, and I'm going to coach our guys.
Is there now, a couple days removed, maybe a better sense of hey, we did win. We did win the game. I know that the result, it is still about the process, but is there, like, hindsight now? Okay, hey, we did win. Do you have that, or not so much?
Yeah, sure. Again, we took a moment yesterday and watched that shot again. An incredible shot. Yeah. So happy for Bowden in all the things that is Bowden. We were able to celebrate that shot yesterday in some things, but I'm not going to just sit here and, based on what the reaction, like being like I heard this from Tom Crean a long time ago. Being a head coach is like being on an island, Dom. Like I'm sure the staff was questioning things that I did. I'm sure the players were questioning things. I know my mom, my wife, everybody had thoughts for me, and that's something that I got to live with. And I'm comfortable in my own skin that I'm not perfect, but I do feel like we have a pretty good plan in place to attack a process, and it's important that we understand those things. Thankfully, like I did mention in the post-game press conference, we have a bunch of young kids that are resilient, maybe a little confused, in the moment until they really understood. Yeah. But we had just an awesome practice yesterday in a lot of ways.
You were 3-11. I remember you coming on the show, and right before Christmas, when you lost those 2 games with St. Thomas and Western Illinois, you ended up winning 14 games and 3rd in the Summit League. As a process guy, and the results are there, you got to be happy with how the process ended, though, right? Where the regular season ended?
Certainly. A lot of people have said the word perspective to me, Dom. Mm-hmm. And I sometimes in certain ways I can look at perspective as in a negative way, like it's an excuse, right? At the bottom line is, and this might sound hypocritical to everything I just said, but this is a result-oriented business. If we don't get results, things change, right? I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I didn't want to ever use inexperience, youth, right, all injuries, all those things. But when you look back, and I will say this to defend our guys, not to say anything about myself or anything, but this is the toughest schedule that we've ever put together. This is the youngest group that I've had in 9 years of being the head coach. We knew the importance of Damari Wheeler-Thomas, and a bunch of those things like that we're blending all these things. And so the perspective is we have grown a lot. And that is really important to me, because I think, you can, if you don't have the right character in the locker room, Dom, when you are 3-11 or whatever we were going into break, things can go a lot of ways. And you see that with teams, clearly, where they might come out for the first 5 minutes of the game, and if things go okay, then they're fine. But then they don't, they fracture other ways. And, of all the things, this guy, whether they liked it or not, what they're hearing, they stayed together internally. They battled. And so, I mean, have we made progress? Yes. Are we exactly where we want to be? No. And I think if I'm being realistic with myself, Dom, we're never going to be, I mean, there was a thing I was reading. What's your motive in life? Mm. And I was struggling with that question for a while. And I was talking to my father, and I really think at the end of the day, it's a good thing, but it's certainly something that Bison Nation needs to know about Dave Richman when he's, angry on the sidelines for and this and that. Like, my motive is more. My motive is better. And I think at the end of the very end of the day, that's a great thing. but it can rub the wrong people the wrong way. And when I say the wrong people, I don't want to be involved with people that don't want to get better.
What a hallmark of your teams is playing your best at the end of the season. You've won 5 of your last 6, so that calling card is certainly there, despite how the second half of the game went with Western Illinois. Describe, I guess, trending in that direction now heading to Sioux Falls for the game on Sunday night.
We're playing some of our best. We're defending as well as maybe I can ever remember a group defending. We've made some adjustments. Our staff has been awesome making some adjustments. Our guys are bought into that. When you defend the way we defend, that we have been defending, you allow yourself to be very good on the backboards, and because we're forcing teams into tough shots outside the paint. Probably besides some inefficient offensive possessions, probably one of my bigger frustrations was our lack of box outs and things like that. Little things. But we're trending in a very healthy direction defensively. I think because of that, we're rebounding the basketball better. If we're going to have a chance for 3 days, in Sioux Falls, we got to clean up some things offensively. Our floor balance, just our efficiency stuff, some things, taking better care of the ball. And for some reason, that's reared its head lately. We got to make sure we know who we are, who we're playing through, who's taking this shot, who's taking that shot. And those are the things that we're going to fine tune as we continue to head down to Sioux Falls.
You split the season series with South Dakota. I know that Damari got dinged up and was before that game with USD, and that game did not play out the way you wanted to at all. What do you look at much at all from those first 2 games, or has that happened so long ago that you can't really take much from it?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I mean, you have to look at some certain things that, how they defended this, or, some areas they tried to exploit us in, when they were on offense. Same thing, though, when, again, I don't care how anybody takes this, including USD. This is about us and us getting better. Still going to come down to, taking great shots. It's still going to come down to guarding the basketball, guarding ball screens, finishing possessions, again. I'm not running from anything, Dom. Like I've said this before, where there's such a splash of social media highlight plays. There's such a splash of scoring and all this, but look at the teams that are winning games this time of year, Dom. I mean, I watched Iowa State and West Virginia the other night, and I'm at the edge of my seat, and there's 2 teams I think I love that about you too, how much you love March. I mean, you could just feel it through the TV screen, the computer screen when you're sitting there. I mean, they're playing for the greatest. That's all I kept saying. And it's going to be our mantra here as we head down to Sioux Falls. Every choice that you make in each moment, okay, is going to determine the next 10 days. Could be some of the greatest 10 days of your life, or you're going to come back to Fargo and be sitting on your tail, right? Now, I'll say this. We put ourselves in a position where we do control those things, right? This group, to your point, has grown enough where we control those things. Can we lock in each and every moment and make more right choices than wrong choices on the court? That's going to be yet to be determined.
That brings up my next question. I was going to ask this, and you led me there, so you're getting good at this interview stuff, by the way. 9 years later, good job. On taking a new group down there, though, is there? I know we've talked about this before. How much do you rely on a Grant and a Bowden that have been in that building to say, okay, do you do that, or is that completely not that big a deal when you're going to a place you haven't played before?
Yeah, I think to lead into that, and it is about Bison basketball, but some, people have talked about our matchup, and this is the one thing I'll say. It's a different matchup for us. It's a challenging matchup, and I think it's twofold. One, they've got a bunch of experience on that roster that has played in that arena and been on that stage. And it's going to be besides South Dakota State, it'll be the second best atmosphere, from a crowd standpoint. So, those things are on my mind. I can't control either one of those. They're not going to all of a sudden lose their experience, or their fans aren't just going to not show up because I say something, right? So, and now the way the Summit League does it, we don't have any shoot around times or anything like that in the arena. So it's going to be important for us to at least get some of those guys in Saturday night into that environment. Are we, in my mind, are we going to rely on Bo and Grant a little bit, to help us calm some of those waters? Yeah, probably. I think the sooner that we can process that we're playing a game that we've played since 3rd grade. that the court is still the same, that the hoops are still the same. You know, it's the old Hoosiers deal. You know, maybe we should watch that movie. But I think that's it, right? You can't get caught up in a moment. You got to be in a moment. You got to be present.
Can I ask you who you voted for Player of the Year? You could tell me that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can ask me anything.
Who'd you vote?
Do I have to tell you that? No, I voted for Max Asmus.
Okay.
You know, in my mind, obviously he's a talented player, but his team is 18-0.
Unbeaten.
You know, I will say this, and I know the results already. First time I'm kind of disappointed in some things, you know, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Probably getting slapped on the wrist now by Wes and the Sun League. I don't care, but you know, I do think I think there's something. I know there's something to winning too, right? It's not just about, you know, some statistical numbers and all that. It's about how does your team doing? And Max Asmus is the best player on the best team, and oh, by the way, he's very talented as well.
You have seen this tournament from your days as assistant to now as head coach go from the old arena to now the Premier Center. Why, in your mind, is the level of basketball is obviously number one, but what else why this tournament has become such a big deal? Like the New York Times came out, you remember, Dave, and wrote about it, how big this is for a mid-major event. The basketball fans clearly love it. Why is it, in your mind, taken off the way it has?
Boy, you know, that's a wonderful question. Something you'd probably have a better pulse on and some of those things. But I was with Adam Langer after our game Saturday, who Josh Streit's old high school coach. And I'm just, hey, Adam, you know, he's out of coaching for a year. I'm like, Adam, you got to get down there. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. It's an unbelievable deal. I think there's a bunch of credit to our league that showcases it the right way. There's a bunch of the credit to Sioux Falls, to the Sports Authority. That's a great venue. I think there has to be a bunch of credit to the coaches and the players involved in it. The fact that both men's and women's are there, you know, as much as I don't like it in a sense, the fact that, you know, Sioux Falls is a hotbed for South Dakota State graduates. I mean, that builds an atmosphere. I want 10 more Bison fans there than that are there. But at the same sense, I'd rather have some kind of atmosphere than some sterile environment. I remember, you know, when Tim Miles, you know, when we were transitioning, Tim Miles threw us in a couple of Suburbans, and we went down to a couple of events in the Midco, and it was, I mean, there's birds flying around, Dom, and there's nobody there, and it was like, it isn't even close to the North Central. Why are we leaving? Yeah. You know, and now all the things done a good job of growing this.
Lastly, before I let you go here, just on the growing sense you get of what's happening with Grant, for you yourself, just this is the first time I know you've gone through this. Have you reached out to ask on this? Like, okay, what, just for your own sense of keeping things, we got to worry about basketball. We got major games to go, but also knowing what's to come whenever the Bison basketball season ends.
You guys just won't leave this alone, will you? You won't let Grant and I just coach basketball and try to go win a Summer League tournament.
It's a big deal, though. You know that.
I know. Here's what I'll say. And at some point, you know, there's some conversations off the record, but you know, it's really helped me probably get a better gauge of the underbelly of college basketball. It is.
Hey, you and I have talked about that for a long time, and for people that don't know, it's ugly. It is. It just is.
That ugly doesn't even do it.
Gross, disgusting.
Ugly.
I mean, you know.
Hey, ugly are your socks. That's ugly. This is downright disturbing, disgusting. Okay. Some of those things. Now, some of it's great, obviously. You know, the national attention that we're getting. Yep. The seat that I get to sit in right next to the young man and how he handles all these things is really, I'm very proud of Grant. I'm just as proud of our program and the way something like this hasn't distracted, you know, from our ultimate goal. And again, like there's a huge, figuratively and literally a huge elephant in the room, right? That elephant is going to be in the room until we're done playing this year. And then through conversations with Grant and I, from guidance with people from a lot of different levels and a lot of different situations with expertise, far greater than mine or Grant's, we'll make next steps. And it goes back to everything. I think there's two things really screwing life up a little bit right now. Here goes my soapbox. And I've said this, it's uncertainty and it's comparison, right? All Grant's future is uncertain right now.
Correct.
So why worry about it?
Yep.
Stay present in the moment, right? And get better. I do know this. I've talked to agents, I've talked to scouts, I've talked to NBA GMs. And the most important thing that they say that Grant Nelson can do right now is help his team win. You know why? Because when he goes to whatever level he's going to go to, guess what their charge and responsibility is? Winning games.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to tell you this. I've had a ball. I know we're going to do this again whenever the season wraps up, but I want to tell you this has been so much fun to do this all season long. I always appreciate how open you are to answer everything because you know this. Coaches don't do that, and I really appreciate you doing that, especially today. So thanks for doing this, and you'll see me in a couple days down in Sioux Falls, all right?
Well, this has been good. Like, I have learned one thing, that you do have either followers on Twitter or actually people that listen to this. Because everybody talks about the Dom jokes. And I thought, there's a good portion of me, I thought it was just me, you, and our wives, you and I talking and our wives listening. So there's actually maybe 5 or 6 other people that are tuning in here.
I told you we could get some interest in Bison basketball. We do this. This was mutually helpful for both of us, right?
And believe this or not, I can't believe we're going back and forth like this, but I'm going to return the compliment. I am. And you in particular have done just a tremendous job of why not, but how can we continue to drive the interest in NDSU Bison basketball. We have great kids. We have an unbelievable facility. Feel like we've got a product that represents the area. So this has been great, Dom, and I look forward to many more.
And you finished third in the Summit League, by the way, so good job on that.
I thought about that. Like, my weight it's not even, you talk about winning, that's it right there. I was like, I can go on Dom's show again. And people talk about but that's probably it.
Yep.
That's probably, there it is, Saturday. Listen,
man.
It wasn't even the joy of winning. It was the relief of winning. Now the basketball genius that is Dom Izzo, like I get to be on par with him or okay with him for another year.
I learned so much. We do this every week. I really do.
It's brilliant.
Good to see you,
Appreciate
Matt.
you,
Be safe out there. We'll see you in a couple days, all right?
Thank you.
There he goes. David Richman, North Dakota State men's basketball coach. Bison and South Dakota coming up on Sunday night. It's the late game at 8:30. Guys, if we have the bracket, let's throw it up there real quick before we go to break. Remember, now, this is a all 10-team event because the 7, 8, 9, and 10 seeds will play on Friday. So Denver UND is the first game Friday. That's the 8-9 game. The winner gets Oral Roberts. The 7-10 game is Kansas City and Omaha. The winner of that will get the Jacks on Saturday. You see the Bison play South Dakota Sunday night. St. Thomas, Western Illinois, sneaky good game there. That's the first game Sunday at 6. I am on the record. I said St. Thomas is going to win a game in Sioux Falls. So that means I'm picking St. Thomas to beat Western Illinois. That'll be a dandy of a game. A reminder, Hot Mike will be live in Sioux Falls on Monday. If we ever get out of here, we're taking the show live on location. We'll be down there with coverage starting on Saturday of the Summit League tournament, with the Bison women set to play at 3 on Saturday and the Bison men at 8:30 on Sunday night. Good stuff there. We're way overdue for a break. We'll take one here. We'll get caught up on a couple things and roll on here. Apparently more snow's coming. What a day. First day of March. We're getting hit in the face with it. We're back right after this. Yikes. That's a shot live in Wahpeton right now. The North Dakota Department of Transportation tweeted out that Highway 46 from Streeter to Enderlin is open, but with a no travel advisory on it. No travel advisories east of the Missouri River have been lifted. Much of the southern portion of the state, as you can see, still experiencing hazardous conditions and road closures. So it's still not great, and it's not going to be at least for a little bit longer. We'll take a break here. We'll get back on schedule and get ready for the Girls State B Basketball Tournament, which begins tomorrow in Minot. A full preview of that when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. It's still snowing here. Get rid of it. There's a live shot of downtown Fargo. Apparently, it's still coming here for a little bit longer. I just got an update from Mitch Lundy, who's the tournament director of the Girls State B, because I was asking him about any issue with teams getting to Minot. He said we should be good. Couple just waiting for some break in the roads. Minot area had 0 snow, so once they get north, it is good, which is a good sign for the teams there, as we got to get our broadcast team there, but at least before 1 o'clock tomorrow, when everything is set to begin with the Girls State B back at the Minot State Dome, as it is going to be a heck of a tournament. It is super exciting to have our next guest on, because I know it's March when I get to see Lynette Johnson, and it is March 1st, so we're right on schedule. It's great to see. I did this off the top. This is the 10th year you've done the State B. 10!
That's crazy, and it's been a blast, and it's been fun getting back to the Class B. I've been in Class A for so long, and I still kind of live in that world, but just still being able to have the connection to Class B is pretty awesome.
They don't shun you out now that you're a Class A-er, right? They still welcome you into the Class B community, I hope, right?
Well, yeah, I think hopefully I have a lifetime membership.
It's great to see. I got tons of basketball stuff I want to talk to you about here today.
Mm-hmm.
You sent me a picture last week. You and your daughter got a chance to go down to Lincoln to watch Nebraska women's basketball host Iowa. And I've made no apologies on this show for the last 2 years. I'm a huge Caitlin Clark fan. I think anybody that watches knows that. We showed the game on Monday, on what happened on Sunday, hit the game winner. Your daughter, though, got a chance to meet her. Tell us about how this all came about.
Yeah, so I kind of, for Christmas, this was one of her Christmas presents, was to be able to go down to Nebraska. We had that long weekend and go down to Nebraska, and they made signs and said we came all the way from Bismarck to see Caitlin Clark. And she and a friend and her mom and I went down and drove down there. And after the game, we waited, and we thought she was coming out of one end, but my friend actually went to use the restroom, and she's like, "Hey, she's back here." So she got kind of the inside scoop, and it was kind of crazy. She was a rock star in the college basketball world, and people were all over. So we were fortunate enough for her to get a chance to sign it and snap a picture.
We got video of the picture here. That alone is, I'm very jealous of her, by the way. She got an autograph, but for young girls like your daughter, how important is a player and what Caitlin Clark is doing right now? How big a deal is that, Lynette?
Well, it's pretty awesome. Again, on the national stage, people know who she is. Again, that rock star treatment, to see her, all these young girls just looking up to her and, having the signs. We were at Nebraska, but Iowa's that neighboring state, and there's quite a few Iowa fans there too. And, just Caitlin, she almost had like this entourage of people like, hey, let her go, let's let her through. And it was just cool to see. And, she had 30 points and even hit one. Her motto is from the logo, and she got one from the Nebraska logo there too.
How good is she? I mean, you know basketball. I mean, what are we talking about here? How good a player is she?
Well, just her ability to score from wherever, and consistently looking up the court. And we were up a little ways so we could see I'm trying to tell my daughter and her friend who are 10 and 11, like, hey, look how they push the ball at the sideline and how wide they get, and those kind of things. And just seeing the court and, just really maturing as a player. It's just been fun to see.
The Big Ten women's basketball tournament starts today. That's actually at Target Center over the next 5 days. And I know that'll be a great crowd, as you well know, with the Final Four being there last year. They're going to have a great turnout. I know the Gophers play this afternoon, and it's been a tough year for Lindsay Whalen's team. But that will have huge crowds there this whole weekend. There's no doubt.
Yeah, Minnesota's a great, sports town, a great women's baskall town. The Lynx, winning so many championships in the WNBA, and last year we went to the Final Four, and it was just packed. Just a really great atmosphere.
I text you this all the time that the ratings for the women's championship were as high as they ever been. This year they put the women's title game on ABC, so it's on network TV. That it's only going this way. The attention for the game just keeps going up.
Yeah, and the skill level just gets, goes up and up and up. And, it's just great to see for women's basketball, and it's great for the young kids in our community.
I know you cannot be unbiased here, so that's fine. But what do you make of your alum of the Bison women, and what Jory Collins' team did this year, their best ever finish in Division I?
I love it. We got to come back for the alumni game earlier this year, and they won that game. We got to meet, talk to some of the players, and he's just doing a fantastic job, ending that high in the conference. And, South Dakota State is still that juggernaut, but, getting closer. And, he's got some young players here that are pretty fantastic that he's recruited.
Elle Evans is a different kind of player, isn't she?
Yeah. The first time I saw her play, I'm like, number one, like, who's that? Because I, was watching the game and, got to watch her play. And I'm like, wow, that's the kind of recruit you need to have to turn things around. And she's just a phenomenal player. And I got a chance to talk to her. I'm like, you're from Evansville, Illinois. And I'd lived in St. Louis for a while. So we kind of talked a little bit about that. I'm like, why NDSU? And she's like, they were one of the first people to talk to me and gave me a lot of that attention right away, and I really just enjoyed that. So it's fun to see.
Now the flip side of this, as you well know, in this era of college basketball, is how to keep her. You know what I mean? Like a player like that, there's going to be people that will come around.
Right. You look at the NIL and the stuff that's out there, and I hope that she stays. She's great for NDSU women's basketball, and when you have a winner at NDSU, people will come to watch, and you've started to see the stands fill up, and get back to those days when it was packed to the rafters.
Yeah, it will be something else if they can go and win a couple games in Sioux Falls and get to Tuesday, and if they play the Jacks, and however it goes, that's a big deal in itself. If they're able to get to that, which is an ESPN game, if they're able to make it to next Tuesday, that's a huge deal.
Yep. Any of that, that exposure like that, get their name out there, is just huge. And, South Dakota State has run with the best this year. I mean, they've, beaten top teams and, played South Carolina and done, well. So I'm it'll be interesting to see, how they compare and if they can stay with them.
All right. So now here we go. We got the 8 teams that have set for Minot. Number 1 seed is Thompson. Central Cass is the 2. They're back for the 3rd time in 4 years. Rugby's back. They've been a perennial power. They're the 3 seed. Kenmare's there for the 3rd time in a row. They're the 4 seed. Is there a team that hops off the page, say this is a clear favorite, or I'm of the mindset, and you've done this, I think this is as wide open as it's been in a long time for the girls B?
I would agree. You've got Thompson coming in as the 1 seed. They're back after 3 years absence. Grafton was kind of that powerhouse there in Region 2. So they got over that hump and got back. And Central Cass, and Kindred in Region 1 have been back and forth. Kenmare's back again. I'm excited to see Garrison. I mean, Garrison has come out of, Region 5, 3 ranked teams in Region 5. They had to beat Central McLean and Shiloh to get there. All with, kind of a short bench. They play 5 players and, sub in here and there. But I'm really interested to see them and how they compete at the state level. Because we've seen, quite a few of these other teams, Langdon, Rugby, Central Cass, Kenmare, Thompson. We know those coaching styles, but I'm excited to see Garrison play.
So we had Matt Chase on the show Monday, Lynette, and he bragged about it's an iron 5. These are the players I'm going to go with, and I think there was a little extra giddy up in their step. He told me at least 25, 30 people have come up to him thanking him for beating Shiloh, which we know the argument and the debate around them, but that's a real deal. And these girls are playing with a ton of confidence after that.
Yeah, it was 1999 is the last time they have been there. I saw a news article about, everybody's almost everyone on the team has a relative that was on that other team. And just, for a town like that, it's just Garrison. A lot of teams are combined and they've got Garrison, and they're they've got just as good a chance as any. I think they're coming in as the 5 seed, but they beat some really great teams. So I'm excited to watch them. That matchup at the end of the night is going to be with Kenmare is going to be pretty fantastic.
We have seen Central Cass there. This is the 3rd time in 4 years. I remember when we saw them in 2000. I remember you and I talking like, boy, they are super young. They still have Kindred to go through. And I talked with Jay yesterday on the show. I don't even know if he thought we could make it to state 3 times in 4 years. Describe how hard that is and how talented this team is.
Well, it is so difficult because, you've got that target on your back and everybody wants to beat you. And, to have to go against Kindred, who, is a fantastic, team with a fantastic, all around player, Abby Dukeshire, who, graduated. But they've got a great talent, DeConte Smith and the Cotton girls.
Yeah.
That's, one great thing is I won't have to memorize too many names on that team because just Cotton passes to Cotton to Cotton. So, but yeah, they've got a very formidable team as well.
We saw DeConte Smith as a freshman. How has she elevated her game? She's going to play at Northern State next year in basketball. Where have you seen her really elevate her game from the first time you saw her?
Well, I think just the her strength and control, a little bit when you're young, you just kind of go on athleticism. But as you get older, you learn, when to go fast and when to be under control and just that. And I'm excited to see her in person again. It's been a couple years. Is there a team we're not talking about that could do something here off the top of your head that you see? I look at rugby. Jen Brossard is just such a great coach.
Yeah.
She always has her team playing well. There's a Heidel ball on the team, and when there's a Heidel ball on the team, anything can happen. They've her brother got a chance to win a state championship, and her sister, played to runner up, and she's been on the team for a while, and Jen just really gets her team playing well. So rugby might be that dark horse team. They got a tough one with Langdon area, Edmore Munich. Yep. We know Rob Scher's team is there for the 6th year in a row. And you talk about dynasties, right? I mean, you always make this comment, and you're dead on about it. To make it once is really special. 6 in a row, that's crazy. Yeah, and Coach Scher before that, with Park River was for the Langdon was in there. So. He just is, I don't know if he has a room at the state tournament just ready already because he just assumes he's going to be there. And he's done just a phenomenal job with those kids. All right, I got to ask you this because I haven't talked to you about it. So this is going to be the last girls B as we know it. You obviously played in the state B from Milner. Tell me about what you see coming for 3 classes and how this is going to affect this particular tournament. It's going to give kids opportunities. There's a lot of positives. It's going to give teams that maybe haven't had the chance to get there, a chance to get there. I'm interested to see how the setup works next year. I know that the Class A and Class B girls and boys tournaments will be at the same time. Will there be a division that gets, maybe less attention because of that? I don't know. I mean, it's a new system. Eventually, and this is just me, I don't know what it would look like logistically, but I love the Super A, and I don't know if they would ever do a Super A, Double A, Super A, and a Super B. Yeah. Because more teams are going to go more often. Does it get, our team's going to go if one weekend the boys win and the next weekend the girls win? Are they going to go to both of them? So there's a lot there. I think it gives kids opportunities, though. So we'll see how it plays out. Well, I look in your backyard, like Sargent County's boys are having a heck of a year, but those are made up of rivals where it's Foreman, Milner, Gwinner are together, which, I mean, we're 10 years, right? 10 years removed from Milner's boys winning the whole thing. And now 10 years later, they don't have enough guys to play. And that's I know where the demographics of the state are going, but it's a different time, and it's you make a good point on. I don't know if they can do that, but it's going to be different. I think Jay Bachman said it to me yesterday. We would love to go because they're moving up. Heck, 3 of the teams that are here in Minot are moving up next year. That alone is going to give the Class B a different face this time next season. Yeah, completely. And you wonder, are some teams that had to consolidate or do co-ops, will they not have to co-op anymore because they'll be able to be competitive? I don't know. It'll be, I think it was probably time that it had to happen when you see some of these bigger schools that are, consistently there, but it'll be again, an interesting dynamic. I think it did have to happen, and it'll give more kids opportunities to get to that tournament. I got an email coming in asking who is the player, and we're getting ahead of ourselves because I was going to ask you this next week when I see you in Fargo. Who is the top player to watch at the Super A next week? Who's the top player? Yeah. This is an easy one for me. Logan Nisley. I mean, she's just, I've gotten to watch her in my backyard here, the last 4 years. And, we went down to Nebraska to watch the game, and that's where she's going to play. Yep. And we had, and my friend knows Logan's mom pretty well. So Logan messaged the girls down there, and we actually got to talk to some of the Nebraska players, and I think second half against Iowa, Nebraska shot 31% from the field, and I'm just thinking they could really use Logan Nisley right now, and they're all excited to have her down there, and she's just a top-notch kid, along with being a top-notch player.
I think my rough math, I would think we have about 5 or 6 Division I either players or going to be players next week at the Super A. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you got Schiller and potentially Simon and Nisley, and it just
and we haven't even talked about the Minot girls yet.
Right. They're just still babies, aren't they, freshmen? So yeah, it's crazy to see that. It's fun to see them get some of that national attention and spread their wings that way.
It's going to be great stuff. I look forward so much to you and Cullen on the call this weekend. I can't wait to see you next week for the Super A. All right, have a great weekend in Minot and travel safe up there, okay?
All right, you guys too. Thanks.
Good to see you. Lynette Johnson, she'll be on the call of the girls State B with Cullen Holt over the next 3 days. Our coverage begins tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Come hell or high water, snow or whatever, we're going to be on the air for the broadcast coming tomorrow. So we look forward to that tomorrow, 1 o'clock on WDAY. We'll take our final timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. We got an update on the Spuds game that is supposed to happen tonight. We'll let you know what's going on with the Spud hockey team and all that when we say goodbye right after this on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. All right. Well, this has been a fun show here. The snow keeps coming. At least I think it's going to peter out here. Our news is coming up at the top of the hour. It'll give you all the updates, including snow totals, which has been, I know, crazy in some parts of the state. Others up north. I don't know, Ryan, if we still have the tower cam from Grand Forks. They're probably laughing at us here where there's nothing going on there. Yeah, look at, I mean, seriously? It's like a different planet compared to what we got going on here. So that tells you how small the line is, but what it's producing is not small at all. So our Storm Tracker meteorologists are all over it. We'll have complete coverage on our newscasts, 11, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 tonight. One update on the sports front. We talked about it. The Moorhead-Roseau game that was supposed to be played tonight for the 8AA championship has been moved to tomorrow, a 4 o'clock start for the 8AA championship game between the Spuds and the Rams. The winner of that, of course, goes to the state hockey tournament. So, again, Moorhead-Roseau now tomorrow at 4 at Thief River Falls. That's the only sports contest that was really going today of consequence in our area. So, just wanted to pass that along. Everything else, like we mentioned earlier, for the State Girls B, everybody's anticipated to arrive in Minot sometime today, includes our team that'll be broadcasting the event. And just be safe out there. Right now, there's no travel on any of the interstates coming in and out of Fargo. So they're going to wait till the snow is over and then be able to do some damage out there, figuratively, with the plows to get people where they got to go. So just be patient. Doesn't look like you need to go anywhere anyway with the amount of drifts that are somewhere. Looking forward to seeing my driveway when I get home. We'll get you ready for what to watch here before we get out of here on this Wednesday. Hey, you're snowed in. At least there's some afternoon sports to tide us over. We mentioned this is like the ultimate irony. The Twins are playing their first televised game of the spring today on Bally Sports North, a noon start against the Phillies. Why that is of consequence, Carlos Correa will make his first appearance. And after some comments that came out, namely by the New York Mets, saying that they didn't believe Correa's ankle would last beyond 3 years. That's why they backed out of the deal. Of course, the Twins signed him to 6. I'll be interested in what he has to say about that. That's coming up at noon on Bally Sports North. We mentioned the Big Ten women's basketball tournament beginning today down at Target Center. The Gophers play today. Lindsey Whalen's team. Of course, we saw them play against the Bison back in November. They take on Penn State. That's 1 o'clock today on the Big Ten Network. It's been a difficult year for the Ghosts. They still got a dynamite amount of talent. That's worth checking out at 1 o'clock. And we've got Premier League, Arsenal and Everton soccer at 1:45 on USA. Thanks to our guests, Drew Trafton, Tim Bergstraser, Dave Richman, and Lynette Johnson. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Be safe out there, everybody. The news is coming up at the top of the hour. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.